The way Vegas has developed the last few years, they've added esports, but now they bring in Formula One. They've got the Raiders football team across there now. They're talking about bringing a baseball team.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's so much more than just gaming. It's a machine at the moment that is exceptionally well run. They've got a great future plan, and obviously esports is part of that.
Hi friends, welcome to the Aspire and Acquire podcast. I'm your host Sandeep Suri. Join me for listening to some incredible stories about some of the best professionals from very diverse fields like combat flying, robotic surgery, dancing, tea farming, journalism, deep sea diving, and so on. These accomplished professionals are not just outstanding in their jobs, but also have unique stories to share with us. We have tried to make the show truly global by having these guests from different parts of the world. So without further ado, let's dive into the session. A long day at work takes its toll, and so the idea of winding down sinks into your mind. To play is fundamentally human. If you can experience something through play, it creates camaraderie. And the gaming industry is unique and special because it is the only entertainment medium in the world where one can toggle between offline and online modes. You can connect with someone you have never met. You don't necessarily speak their same language. You're not in the same time zone. And yet you can actually do something together, and that's playing virtually with each other. The gaming industry has experienced tremendous growth and evolution over the years, becoming a global phenomenon that generates billions of dollars in revenue annually. Just to sprinkle some numbers, the global market size of the gaming industry stands at about $250 billion, which is constantly growing with an excess of 13% per annum. From humble beginnings to cutting-edge technology has been the background of this industry. In today's episode of Aspire and Acquire, we have someone who has seen it all in the gaming industry, from land-based to online gaming. So let me introduce you to our guest today, Quartier, president of Tyche Gaming International. Kurt, originally from Belgium, is a 32-year veteran of the gaming industry, having caught the gaming bug in Sun City, South Africa in 1990, when he started work for Sun International. He has since been based around the world, from Greece to the Netherlands, Macau, the Philippines, and now Spain. While originally focused on operations, he moved to the supply side, where he has now gained experience over 5 continents. Welcome to the show, Kurt. Let's kick off our conversation by understanding, what does Tyche Gaming International do?
Hi, Sandeep. Thank you very much for asking me on. Tyche Gaming is my consulting company that I basically started after a good 25 years in the gaming industry. And it's where I now focus in helping international clients enter new markets primarily.
Your offices are globally, in which all countries?
The offices are in Spain, but my activity is pretty global. I have clients in the US, in Europe, and in Asia at the moment.
Good. Can we just talk about, and if you could just give us an overview of the current state of the gaming industry? How does it look like in terms of future? How has it grown in the past and evolved in the recent years?
I think it's pretty healthy. It went through a bit of a shock, obviously, as most industries did with the whole COVID pandemic. But it's bounced back, and in some geographies, it's bounced back better than ever. For example, in the US, Las Vegas is simply hitting record months for over 2 years now.
Wow. What about indoor games? That must be the blessing in disguise during COVID-19, right?
Well, that was the thing. So what happened is, obviously, land-based gaming, as we call it, or traditional casino gaming, suffered during COVID, but online gaming really took off. The seeds had been planted in geographies like Europe, but it was pretty well developed already. But it just gave that extra boost as a number of typical land-based customers also started using the service. And while people originally felt threatened by that and thought, well, land-based gaming will suffer, it's pretty all, helping the business grow overall. And now land-based is bouncing back as never before.
So, do you really see a competition between land-based and computer-based gaming? These are two different set of customer segments we're talking about, here, or there is an overlap?
There is some overlap, definitely, but I don't really see it as competition. It's a very different experience. People were worried in the beginning. Land-based customers were worried, well, online's going to take the business away. Mm-hmm. Online attracts a lot of new customers. And once they've been playing in their pajamas behind their laptop for a couple of months, they also want to experience what a real casino feels like, so to speak. And it helps the entire business grow. It also improves competition, and competition is always good for any business, for any industry.
And land-based is a very different kind of experience. To be honest, I did go to Vegas, and I tried my hand a couple of times. Didn't succeed. That's a different issue. But definitely, it's a very, very different experience than e-gaming.
Yes, absolutely. I'm not much of a player myself either. I love gaming. I've been in it for over 30 years, but I only play games to see and try and understand the competition's games. I'm not in it to lose money. I'm not in it to try and win money either.
So are you trying to hint something here, like, anybody who plays, will be a loser?
But eventually you will be. I mean, you can always get lucky, have a nice run.
Right.
But the edge is always on the house's side. But you do it for the entertainment, not for the gambling, hopefully.
Absolutely. What are some of the key factors driving the growth of the gaming industry on a global scale?
I think apart from the online expansion, there really has been, over the last sort of decade, there's been a lot of global expansion. Asia, for example, has led the way many times, and first with Macau, Philippines, which has developed into a huge powerhouse, and while we're eagerly awaiting things like Japan, and there's even talk of Thailand.
These are the compliance things, that are really driving, graph up in these markets, or there's something else?
It's legalization. I mean, the whole gaming industry won't venture anywhere without the proper legal infrastructure, because they don't want to put their licenses at risk anywhere as they shouldn't. So as governments see that it's not like in the movies anymore. It actually helps develop your entertainment and tourism infrastructure, and it brings in great tax revenue. More and more countries are legalizing and causing that expansion.
Yeah. And what are some of the reasons, why some of these countries have actually not legalized it? Any specific reason that comes to your mind?
Some maybe political leadership a bit hesitant. Obviously, there's religious factors in certain countries, which we respect. But almost everywhere we see a move towards an increasing number of legalized avenues for gaming.
So just switching gears and talking about video games or e-games, many tech giants are betting that the subscription model will become dominant in video games. Do you really see this happening in near term, or it's just too far-fetched an idea at this point in time?
Well, I think if you're playing for money, for the player, it won't be a subscription model. But for the operator or the person interacting with the customer, they may obtain their games on a subscription basis. You already see that in the land-based industry, where perhaps not quite a straightforward subscription, but some sort of lease fee or some sort of participation fee to get premium products or licensed products, which would then use titles known from the movie industry, for example.
And what's driving this kind of change in the industry? What's the real reason behind this?
I think competition. As a supplier, I mean, especially in the land-based supply where I spent most of my time, competition is fierce. There's a number of real powerhouses on the supply side, and without innovation, you die in a matter of no time. So you really have to innovate both the technology, the hardware, the software, the game content, and bring in any sort of entertainment factor that's apart from the hardcore gaming factor, which is sometimes needed. but bring in any sort of entertainment factor that's going to help attract customers.
Tell us, how have the rise of mobile gaming and the accessibility of smartphones impacted the global gaming industry?
It's given us another avenue. So I think the first sort of foray with mobile gaming was more into what we call the social gaming, more into free play, which is almost like a subscription type model, but you could pay per time that you want to access more game time. And in free play, there's not actual money to be won, but a lot of the game concepts are the same. You win virtual jackpots, which aren't cashable. They're not real money; they're just credits. And obviously, these are played very often on mobile gaming devices.
So some of the key emerging trends of late we have started seeing in the gaming industry are the integration of virtual reality and augmented reality, right? Can you talk us through how they are impacting the gaming industry's growth and player experiences?
We're seeing a little bit of that at the moment. Not a great deal yet, but I believe we're on the verge of seeing more. There's been little attempts at trying to integrate some of that into the player experience on the casino floor. But some of these were simply too early for the technology to really take hold, and also make sure that the customer doesn't need any additional gear. You don't want to, if you're going into a casino for half an hour, you don't want to have to put on special glasses or special gear to be able to play. We're not quite there yet.
Right. Yeah, I guess it'll also become more expensive, right?
It could, although cost isn't as much of an obstacle as convenience is in a lot of ways.
I see.
We're really a customer-driven industry, and we don't want to put in additional obstacles. Another factor, of course, at play is that the main gaming industry in land-based is typically slightly older. And that's not always the case, not in every geography, but there's many geographies where your best sort of age group for gaming is in the 35 or even 45 plus.
I see. I mean, that is the age group we are talking about. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So with the increasing popularity of esports, how do you envision the impact on the global gaming industry?
I think it's already had an impact, especially if you go to Las Vegas. What you'll see is that two of the major casino groups have really focused on putting huge esport facilities in their properties. You have it at Luxor by MGM, and you have it at the Harris properties at the Link as well. And it's really driven by these huge crowds and high attendance that esports are getting in their tournaments.
That's really interesting. People who actually can play these games from their bedrooms, now they are venturing out and going to Vegas to really see and get the experience of one, a real casino, and also,
Yes.
at the same time, they could also get into a room and experience the esports. That's a very interesting model. Right?
Plus, they experience Vegas as a whole. I mean, the way Las
Yeah.
Vegas has developed the last few years, they've added esports, but now they bring in Formula One. They've got the Raiders football team across there now. They're talking about bringing a baseball team.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's so much more than just gaming, and it's a machine at the moment. It is exceptionally well run. They've got a great future plan, and obviously esports is part of that.
So why do you think, they are actually looking this as an alternative? Is there a threat they see, but or something else that they don't want to miss out on something in which is happening across the globe?
I think it's the don't want to miss out part that you mentioned. So one of the sort of themes for the last 20 years has been, how do we attract the younger player? How do we make sure the younger player stays just as interested? He's grown up with different technology and visits our casinos and takes part in our gaming experience. And esports is definitely seen as one avenue that is bringing in that player. And by bringing it into Vegas, you're exposing him to the rest of the gaming industry as well. And there will be crossover, and he will get to know it, and he may partake in it in the future.
Interesting. Yeah. Are there challenges or obstacles that the gaming industry may face in the coming years? How can this be addressed?
Well, the biggest challenge was obviously COVID, but luckily that one appears to be behind us.
Right.
That really hurt the land-based sector for a while. The second challenge is basically regulatory. There are still territories where regulations are either insufficient for gaming to take place, or where there may be obstacles that are maybe slightly outdated, or where regulations are too specific for that country. We, of course, respect any country to make their own regulations, but sometimes there's not much value in reinventing the wheel. If it's been done in 40 other countries in a proper, secure, safe way, then there's probably a model out there that would suit any country looking to legalize.
All right. Good. We keep hearing about ethical considerations as one of the bigger challenges in this industry. So what is that this industry actually needs to address in terms of ethical consideration, and how they are planning to do so?
I think any decent operator, whether it's an online operator or a land-based operator, has got a responsible gaming program in place. And with technology, that's constantly improving. So it started off with self-reporting, and if you had an issue or the floor staff could try and recognize that you had an issue, you could be excluded from the gaming floor. You could have a gaming addiction helpline in certain countries that would help you, or you could exclude yourself, or your family could ask for you to be excluded from the property in certain jurisdictions. Obviously, with technology coming into the fray now,
right,
we have so much data available to us. It's much easier to spot a problem gamer because you combine the technology of knowing whatever's really happening, what action you're getting off a player, together with the KYC that you have to do in many cases on the player. And by combining those two, you see, is this something the player can afford? Is he comfortable playing at that level? Or is this a potential issue? And should a conversation take place on how to potentially help that player?
So is KYC a new phenomenon in the industry, or this has been there for a while now?
It's been there for a while. As so many things in the gaming industry, it actually probably started led by the operators themselves, because the operators around the world, the top operators, have realized that there's always this stigma, or there used to be always this stigma attached to gaming and gambling and the James Bond movies and the mafia movies and everything else that people had grown up with. Mm-hmm. So they self-regulated to a large extent. And then, of course, with the money laundering, anti-money laundering legislation coming through in the US and Europe and Asia, operators were pretty much prepared already, but then obviously tightened up on all the procedures they had to do to prevent any issues.
Yeah. How do you really anticipate the gaming industry's economic impact and job opportunities evolving in the future?
Just growing. It's amazing because what happens in a lot of territories is gaming is used to fund huge and impressive tourism infrastructure that would otherwise probably not be built without gaming. It simply would be unaffordable. You can't build the Las Vegas, where properties have up to 5,000 rooms per property, without gaming as a driver. And then once you have that, you can offer entertainment, you can offer food and beverage, you can offer sports that you could otherwise not do. And all of these just build on each other when it comes to job opportunities. And I think that's why countries like Thailand are now seriously considering it. That's why countries like Japan have had a look at it. Mm-hmm. It's a employee-heavy industry. So it's great for job opportunities.
And I think they've been very, very creative and innovative in offering jobs and offering roles to people because it is growing. Growth is the only thing that I've been
Yes.
seeing for the last so many years in this industry, right? So,
Well, that growth causes upward mobility. So you pretty much have happy employees because, people do well at their jobs, then they're not going to be stuck in the same job for 20 years. They're
exactly.
going to move up the chain. And that at the end is what makes a happy employee. It gives them opportunities, and it makes sure that the employer has to look after him or he'll go somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's talk about cultural diversity a bit. How important is cultural diversity and representation of the culture in the gaming industry, and what efforts are being made to promote inclusivity here?
I think inclusivity is on the agenda of most suppliers and operators. They've been focused on that for quite a while. Um, Inclusivity, diversity, equality, etc. But it's not just done out of charity. It's done out of commercial considerations as well, because we're not trying to attract a certain class or a certain group of people. So you need that cultural diversity to be able to interact with your customer, to understand your customer, to understand his needs might be slightly different than somebody else's. Um, and obviously, you also need to you need to develop products that speak to those different cultures, and you'll see that in the games that'll change from geography to geography. Some of the mathematical models might change, some of the graphics might change, and you need to have that experience on board. I I can't tell anybody what a great Chinese theme is. I'm sorry, I don't understand it. For example, so you need that cultural expertise on board to be able to succeed.
Yeah, unlike a soccer game is a soccer game, right? You go anywhere across,
Exactly.
to be pretty much the same. But that's not the thing here. You have to localize a lot, right? Understanding the
You
context.
localize a lot. Some of the games translate quite well. So once you have a good math set,
Right.
it then depends on what kind of player are you trying to attract or are you going to encounter. Are you going to have a hardcore gambler, uh, somebody that wants an experience where he could lose quite a bit of money, but he could win quite a bit? Do you have a time on device player? He just wants to spend the maximum of time there for his $50. Um, Once you find a math model for that niche, they'll typically translate. And there are some themes that are universal. I mean, the Chinese themes are working all over the globe. Egyptian themes have always worked. Every supplier's made a Cleopatra theme, and they're not all Egyptians that are playing, I can assure you. But it always helps to localize a little bit. And what we see, there's a greater need for localization online than there is in land-based as well, not only in themes, but also in languages.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, very logical. Are there any exciting new initiatives, partnerships, or collaborations within the global gaming industry that you find promising?
While, one of the largest suppliers just announced another major online acquisition. I mean, that just shows that convergence between land-based and online keeps on going. And then one of the largest operators and one of the best operators in the world has announced a project in the United Arab Emirates,
Oh,
uh, which is a very exciting development.
can you share your insights into the potential growth and opportunities in emerging markets for the gaming industry, such as Asia, Latin America, or Africa?
I think the major potential on the sort of near horizon is in Asia, and that would be Japan, which has been long awaited. I mean, people have been talking about it for 10 years, but good things take time. And I think we're on the cusp of the first project being realized there. Then, as I mentioned earlier, they're going through the legislative process in Thailand, which, given the tourism hotspot that it already is, would be an amazing development. And the resorts that could be built would be simply incredible. And then, of course, the biggest thing for me to happen in the last 5 years was, I think, Las Vegas. That keeps on surprising. Every single time that you think Las Vegas can't get any better, Las Vegas can't do anything more. Las Vegas has executed on bringing all these sports teams, and the place is just literally buzzing with activity. I mean, it's hard to find a room on a weekend in a place that's got more rooms than anywhere else on the planet.
What advice would you give to entrepreneurs or individuals looking to enter the gaming industry on a global scale?
For entrepreneurs, it's tough. It's a tough entry point. I think there's lots of investment opportunities, and investment opportunities to look for are probably better than trying to go it alone. The regulatory hurdles are there. So you need a decent partner. You need to be able to get licensed in the jurisdictions where you have to go. And the regulatory hurdles are there for a reason, and are probably the most stringent of any industry I've witnessed. People think the finance industry is heavily regulated. I think gaming is more heavily regulated. So that's a huge hurdle, but it's an exciting place to be. And I think if you find the right partner, or if you find the right product to invest, there's definitely opportunity.
Sure. And what about job seekers?
Job seekers, plenty of opportunity. Get in as early as you can. Decide what you find exciting, whether you want to try it into the online space, whether you want to design games, whether you want to be on sales and the supply side, you want to work in a physical casino, whether you want to be associated with a resort casino, where you bring in your hotel or restaurant food and beverage experience. There's just so many opportunities, and I got into the industry by chance. I trained up to be a geologist, and I never worked a day as a geologist because it's such an exciting industry to be. It has so many opportunities that doing this temporarily for 6 months back in 1990 led to a lifetime career in it, and I would highly recommend it to anybody that wants an exciting and rewarding industry to work in.
That's very encouraging to know. So finally, Kurt, I have my signature question. What are some unspoken rules of this industry?
Unspoken rules. Well, I would say, remember, it's a small industry, so don't burn any bridges. That's perhaps one thing.
Interesting.
And honesty and integrity is everything in this industry. The industry has very high standards. We are constantly trying to make sure that people don't get the wrong perception of the industry. So for anybody trying to enter this industry and operate on a grey way whatsoever, don't waste your time. There may be money to be made, but eventually it's going to come to a stop. This is a highly respectable industry with high standards. If you want to succeed, if you want to be part of it, great. It's an exciting place to be.
Looks like with the rapid change in technology, innovative game designs, introduction of cloud gaming, the growing popularity of esports, and of course, overlap of land-based and esporting or e-gaming are some of the big reasons why this industry is growing leaps and bounds, and definitely suggest a bright and exciting future for the gaming industry. We appreciate you spending time with us. Best of luck for playing along and winning innings. Kurt, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming over and joining us for the show. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.
In the bonus pick section this time, I would like to introduce Consensus, a cutting-edge search engine that harnesses the power of artificial intelligence to extract and distill information directly from scientific research, providing users with evidence-based answers to their queries. The search engine uses artificial intelligence to find insights in research work. Consensus is on a mission to democratize knowledge. The URL is www.consensus.app. Happy researching!